And let's dig right into the thing that I call strategic thinking. Just very briefly, so that we are all on the line. What strategy in essential is. Strategy in essential is the mission, the plan, and the action. And I mean, it's quite obvious, right? These three things make up the foundation of strategy, right? So, and you could look at strategy in a different way, and we can say that strategy is like the story you tell. The story you tell about how you are getting to a goal, and what are all the kinds of means that you will need, the resources you will use to get to this goal. And the strategy is the story you tell yourself first and foremost, right? And the goal is this big vision that you have. So let's think about this in terms of your career. And let's think about this. Let's take this average Joe, if there ever was one, and let's say that average Joe is this software developer. He has been working for 5 years. He's not a senior yet. He's a mid-level specialist, but he feels fairly confident. And Joe has a dream, a crazy dream, right? He wants to, within the next 3 years, he wants to become a software architect, for example. This is his crazy dream, and this is his goal. Right? This is his crazy dream. So let me come back to you and ask you, if you were to think of your own career as a computer game, and you were assigned a level to where you are currently, then what number would you put down? What would be your own level? One is obviously you're starting just out with no professional experience at all, and whatever you put there is your current level. And level 10, for example, might be for some that you have 10 years of experience level, and level 10 for the other person might be that you have 10 months of experience. So these levels that you put here are not comparable, but I want to just quickly assign a number that feels right for you. So type it in the chat. What level are you currently at in your career? And there is no end to the levels, so. And it can bounce from 16 to 2, I agree. And now I want you to think about, and if you're not sharing the chat, then I invite you to do this on your own, on paper. I invite you to also think about what your kind of goal is, your crazy dream, let's say over the next 3 years. And you don't have to type it into the chat, but assign a level for that. Quantify it somehow and say that my crazy dream is when I achieve this, then I have leveled up to level X. And what is X for you? Type it in the chat. $99. Great ambition. And again, these levels are not comparable, right? For 99 for somebody is a very small level out of 1 million, and for others, 99 is the ultimate goal, right? 80 gamer level. So let's say that average Joe, his dream is, his goal is to be at level 100, and he's currently at some, let's say 71. So he feels he has quantified it this way. And then a part of a mission, we're talking here about the mission, right? Which is one part of the mission is the goal. And part of the mission is also to have a purpose. If you are thinking about your own level, this ultimate goal that you would like to achieve, for example, in the next 3 years, then there is a purpose behind it, something that drives you, that compels you to achieve this. And for the sake of argument, let's say that Joe here, his purpose is that he's doing this for the fun and the beauty. He really loves developing. And he wants to level up and likes to create the architecture where it really matters, and he finds it beautiful to play this kind of game, right? And the purpose might be totally different for you, but just for the sake of argument. And here we already have the mission. This is the first component, the fundamental component of a strategy. And you are thinking right now strategically about how to level up your career. You have now nailed down somewhat, or the beginnings of a vision, of a goal with a purpose, right? And if we now come look at this strategy, what else do we need for this story is obviously the plan, right? How do we get there? How do we get from point A to point B? And if we only now start executing or putting down steps, then we would be not thinking strategically about this. What the challenge is for the strategic thinker is, imagine that I want you to think like a business. I want you to see yourself, if you are a software developer or not, or in some other role, if you are a CEO, then you, like we have some on the line, right? Then I want you to think like a business, and what I mean by that is that you have a challenge, and the challenge, if you think like a business, and if you think like you are the one providing a service to others, is that there are 3 things that set you apart. 3 things that set you apart, and this is the strategist's challenge. Strategist's challenge. And those 3 things are, let's pick some lovely green over here. Those 3 things are your values, pardon my writing, capabilities, and opportunities. And here, in the intersection of these 3 things is where the magic happens. And let me quickly elaborate what I mean by that. If you are stepping into the shoes of a strategist, and you are looking at your own career first and foremost, you can apply these tools obviously to a company, you can apply these tools to your team, to your customer, but for the sake of argument, we are talking here about your career. And if you think that you are someone who provides a service, then and you want to get, for example, average Joe wants to get to this architect level, then there is competition out there. Let's face it. We also in the work environment are in a competitive market, which means that there are other people who want to have the same dream, who want to also become software architects, and who maybe want to do it a lot faster than Joe does. There are a few spots. It's not an abundant place to be, right? So the thing that sets you apart and helps you to achieve this goal is your sweet spot. And this is the intersection of the values, the capabilities, and the opportunities. And this is this sweet spot, pardon me, is your competitive, let's say, position or advantage, or however you might call it. And the values are, in Joe's case, for example, let me bring another example. We have time for this. So imagine there are 2 people, 2 kids who want to sell lemonade on the street, right? One kid thinks regularly or approaches it not in a strategic way. He makes the lemonade, puts up a stand, brings some cups and the glass, and puts up a sign, fresh lemonade or something like that, and then starts to pour. Or hopes that customers will walk by. There is another kid on the opposite side of the street who approaches this selling lemonade more strategically. They know that and obviously they got some great help from their parents, but they know that their values, for example, that their values are that they like color and they like laughing, and their mission is to really quench the thirst on a hot summer day, right? So they are very clear about what they want to do, and maybe they even have a mission to open up stands all over the town or something like that. Then there are the capabilities of this kid. He knows that he can do a kick-ass lemonade, and he's great with making, for example, these puppy eyes that make people smile and laugh. So these are some of this kid's capabilities. And then there are the opportunities, and the opportunities, these are external, right? He knows, he's thinking, what are the opportunities that I can utilize? He's thinking, okay, maybe I don't go only down the street, maybe I look at where the most crowded street is, where it's hottest, where maybe cars can park on the side of the street. And so he really tries to understand and look at the bigger picture, right? And if this kid combines then what he loves to do, what he values, what his mission is, what he's great at, his capabilities, and the opportunities, then he has a competitive position. Then he opens a stand full of color with great lemonade. He's being deliberate about making his puppy eyes to the customers. He has set up the stand where cars can park and a lot of people walk by, etc. And it's pretty safe to say that the kid with the strategic approach makes a lot more money and quenches a lot more thirst than the kid who only puts up a stand with an old rag on it and some maybe even equal tasting lemonade, but not the strategic thinking behind it, right? So just to gauge your, to understand if you're still with me, is this so far, does this so far make sense? Yes or no? Type in the chat, please. Absolutely. Great that you're with me. Okay. So now that we coming back to Joe and the strategist challenge. So if Joe is thinking now, wants to be deliberate about guiding his career, right? He wants to be strategic about how he is going to position himself in order to outbest the competition and really get to his level 100 or his sweet spot, then he needs to also, obviously he needs to understand his values, his mission. We already talked about the mission. He loves fun and beauty. This is something that he enjoys. And this is something that he can advertise as well to find like-minded people, right? He has a goal with a purpose. And now about these capabilities and these opportunities. And let me now walk with you through this one tool that I'm sure that all of you hopefully have learned at school, but maybe you have not thought about this tool in the context of your career. So let's look at. I will draw up 4 nice quadrants over here, and this is a tool that that helps Joe or whoever it uses, the strategist, let's call it, helps the strategist to kind of start seeing the bigger picture, understanding the capabilities, understanding the opportunities, and everything in between. So what do we have here? We have first the internal capabilities. Yes. Okay, magic boxes. I love the comment, absolutely. Internal capabilities. I will shorten, you can write it out if you're doing the same thing on the paper. I invite you to follow with me. And we have down here the external competitive environment. So we have the internal capabilities and the external competitive environment. And what this tool is, you all know it, I'm sure, is it's the SWOT tool. The strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. So let's fill it out. We have some minutes to do that for average Joe. Write into the chat what would be maybe the strengths that average Joe, this 5-year experience coder, has already. Type in the chat some strengths. They might be even your strengths. Nobody knows. So if you don't want to share your own strengths, make up some. Let's go through this exercise together. Reading and writing. What else? Refactoring. Yes, he's strong about that, definitely. I would put in here maybe algorithmization. What a lovely word. Never emotional. All right. Absolutely. For the sake of time, I will, he's millennial, yes. So now type in some weaknesses. What are something that is his internal capability, but it's his weakness, right? What might be some of that? And there might be your own weaknesses as well. Values beauty over what suffices in the moment. Absolutely. Always late. Yes, that can be a weakness. Cannot estimate. Absolutely. We have, just to keep on moving, let's jump into, and I do like your comments, let's jump into the external competitive environment. And again, no absolutely right or wrong answers. This tool is to create a list and spur our thinking. So what would be what might be some opportunities? Type into the chat. If you think about average Joe, he's in a software corporation, and what is it that might be an opportunity that he can use? Digitalization, absolutely. Hacking, maybe he can find a new project, absolutely. Employers unhappy with current architect. Yes, that might be an opportunity. Current architect is not doing his job. Absolutely. So let's jump to the last box, which are the SWOT. This actually should be a T. My apologies. So what are actually these the threats that he's facing? What might be some threats Joe is facing? His manager, absolutely. COVID might be both an opportunity and a threat, and it's often with opportunities and threats. What else? What is also threatening his goal, achieving his goal? His skill will get old. The incompetent architect limits his growth. Himself, ISP is down. Love your answers. Absolutely. So thanks for filling out, helping me to fill out this table. And what is this tool useful for, right? This SWOT tool. It's the mother of all strategic analysis. The purpose is to get quickly down a list of ideas which you can then use to start a conversation either with yourself or with your partner or with your manager. And the idea is to start looking at the bigger picture, right? You're this kid that lives on the other side of the street who wants to see, okay, where are the people who are driving the most? Where can they park? What are my own strengths? What do I value? What are my weaknesses that I might mitigate and turn into strengths, etc. And then you can, Joe can maybe start to look at, okay, maybe I can turn to this new project and go that and say that these are my strengths and this is why I want to provide value to you, right? So again, I know it might be a lot to take in, but what I encourage, and I see we're out of time and coming to the end, so I wrap this up. This whole session. What I want to say and what I want to leave you with is that you can be deliberate about your career. The first step to anything, to achieving anything, is having a crazy goal, somewhere where you, some goal that you want to achieve, and then what a strategist does, and that a regular thinker does not do, is he tries to look at the big picture. He holds the past, the present, the future in his moment, and he uses all kinds of tools to be really deliberate about his choices. Because the kid with the regular stand, he has only one choice: go out and sell drinks. The kid who is strategic, they have a multiverse of opportunities and choices. And if you use and dig into strategic thinking, this can spur your growth. And in the end, I know we to take some questions as well, but in the end, being strategic to your own about your own career, you can apply these tools to your team, to your customer, and be the person who managers look for. Managers look always for people who are good at their job, but what the world needs are people who can give strategic advice, who can look at the bigger picture and have the vision to make things happen. Some questions. Very quick questions. Can I describe a choice that I made in my career using this kind of analysis? Absolutely. It was around 3 years ago that I did a very in-depth analysis with lots of Excels and tools. I wanted to understand. My choice was if I go. I was working back then as an analyst, and my choice was if I should. Start my own training and coaching company, or I take this job where I am at right now, stepping up as the learning and development architect, right? So this was one choice I had, and I used strategic thinking and strategic planning tools in order to really understand. And the outcome was that I came to the conclusion that it's much more effective in the long run for me if I collect career capital, network, a track record, some runway, and then pursue the next step of building my own thing. So this was something. And the analysis that showed me that I hadn't seen before was that there are actually, the biggest revelation for me was that there are many, many different opportunities to take. If you have only one single goal, then you have no choice. Two are a dilemma, and starting from three goals, then you have a choice, and you need to be strategic on which of those three or even more choices you want to go, because then you can create the magic, right?